Well, coming to you from the reloading room again. I'm getting ready to do another marathon session of 45 ACP. I just opened a new bag of brass. What I did before was once fire brass. This is brand spanking new shiny brass. Okay, what I want to talk about is firearms death and mental illness. Okay, let's start off with the fact that people manipulate statistics by including suicide in with the firearm statistic. The fact of the matter is that 60% of deaths, of firearms-related deaths in the United States, are by suicide. So the thought is that, well, we can reduce the suicides by reducing the firearms, which makes absolutely no sense. I have a little bit of history in mental health treatment, a little bit of history in working with the mentally ill. I'm going to tell you something. Somebody wants to kill themselves, they're going to find a way. And your only opportunity is to convince them that that is not the best thing to do for themselves, that they don't deserve it. Some of them are doing it because they think it's the best thing for themselves. Some people are self-punishing. The only thing you can do is convince them that that's not a good choice. Okay. So, 60% in the United States is by firearms. And if we go follow that logic, that a lot of these liberals and these mental health professionals and stuff would say, well, if we reduce our firearms, we take the firearms out of these people's hands, that they're not going to commit suicide. Well, let's look at a comparable country. Let's look at England. Since it's in the same tradition as the United States, in fact, the United States legal and societal tradition comes from the United Kingdom. Their suicide rate is the same as ours. It's virtually identical, sometimes exceeds ours. Typically, their most common means is by hanging. If a guy's going to kill himself, he's going to kill himself. Doesn't matter if he's got a gun or he's got not. That doesn't. Okay, you take his firearms away, he's just going to find another means. You know. I had a talk with a mental health professional one time. I said, you know what? I mean, you can come in and you can take the guns out. Okay, are you going to take extension cords and ropes and his car and all the medications you give him for his mental health? You're going to take those too. Okay, you're not going to affect that suicide rate. England is a disarmed country. England proves that taking the firearms out does not change the suicide rate. Now, in the United States, 4.8% of homicides are committed by somebody with a history of a mental health problem. But that means a history at some time in their life. Doesn't mean currently ongoing. And, you know, a number of those mental health problems are people who have never been treated. All right? So the thing of it is, you say that, well, we're going to disarm this person. This person has anxiety and depression, which are the most common things, really. And we're going to disarm him, and we're going to make the world safe. No, you're just going to make yourself feel better because you believe your bullshit rhetoric. Okay? You believe your bullshit rhetoric. It doesn't do anything. Doesn't reduce the suicide rate one little bit. Okay? If somebody wanted to kill themselves, look, I'm a firearms owner, obviously. If I wanted to kill myself, I could use a firearm. I could hang myself from this beam above me. Okay? If I want to kill myself, I want to kill myself. The means is irrelevant. Okay? And the only thing you have is to convince the person that it is not in their best interest to kill themselves, or they don't deserve it, because some of them are killing themselves because of they think they're deserving of the punishment, which is rather rare. Yeah, it's all bullshit statistics, and it's mental health people trying to make themselves feel better. You know. I can tell you firsthand that you could lock somebody up and actually put somebody there watching them 24/7, and you have a good shot at preventing them from committing suicide because they're wearing a suicide gown. They're in a cell that has nothing in it. Okay, they're in a room that has nothing in it. Okay, still some of them can make a pretty credible attempt. So, it just doesn't work. Removing the means, more than just on a simple temporary thing, doesn't work. But they'll say, well, this person has had anxiety and depression since they were young, their entire lives. I'm one of those people. Okay? So, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I know we're taught to live in fear of the stigma, but you know what? Screw the stigma. Screw the stigma. So, I've had firearms in my possession since I was 14 years old. I'm 60. Okay, so what's the risk factor there? The fact of the matter is, the risk factor is made up. It's made up. That I'm going to commit suicide. If I was going to do that, I'd do it by another means then. I have no intention of doing that. And as far as homicide is concerned, the risk is so low that it's statistically irrelevant. All right? I mean, you think you're doing something by disarming this person, by taking an entire class of people and disarming them. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you one thing. If you say anybody who's receiving mental health treatment, or anybody who has ever received mental health treatment, or anybody who is taking an antidepressant or anti-anxiety drug, you just stripped firearms from a third of your police officers and probably a third of your corrections officers. You just stripped it for no reason. No reason. Even though those two professions have rather high suicide rates. Okay? The answer is not in removing the firearms. The answer is treating the mental illness. The answer is destigmatizing the mental illness. And the answer is, support, not making them afraid that they're going to lose their firearms or they're going to lose their profession because of the stigma that these mental health professionals wish to put on it. And the mental health professionals, the whole thing there is politically motivated anyway. All right. So there's really no logic in it. Okay. I can understand if somebody's actively saying, I am going to shoot myself or somebody else, okay, of taking them away temporarily until that episode is over with. But I can't see saying, well, he's permanently banned and he has to go through court. He has to go convince a court that he's not in this condition anymore. That's crap. That's utter crap. If somebody is bad enough that you need to disarm him, he's bad enough that you need to hospitalize him. Seriously. In lack of hospitals is actually one of the problems we have here with the people that do go crazy, okay, because we've dismantled our mental health system. Say, we're going to give them medications, treat them on the street. Well, you're trusting them to take their medications, because I want to tell you something else. With mentally ill people, they get with. I'm talking serious mental. I'm not talking about somebody who suffers from an anxiety disorder or a depressive type thing. I'm talking like seriously mentally ill people, like schizophrenics and bipolars and things like that. Okay. They're going to go through periods where they're going to say, I don't need the medications anymore. I feel good. And then they're going to go off their medications. And you're not there to say, well, put it in your mouth, open your mouth, let me make sure you swallowed it. You're not there for that. Okay? So the whole thing is that we're going to turn around and we're going to disarm everybody who has ever had any kind of mental health diagnosis is foolhardy, stupid, politically motivated, and is simply a way for people, for certain politically motivated people, to disarm a large swath of the American population. Okay, which is where the true agenda is, and that's it in a nutshell. Okay, the belief, the political motivation, and to take this aside and say, oh, that's terrible, because it's not part of your culture, not something that you were exposed to, or something that you were exposed to, but you went to some college and learned to logic in an illogical manner. The fact of the matter is, the mentally ill ain't the problem. Okay? And when they are a problem, it's more of a system failure of not treating them. Okay? And not ensuring that these, I mean, the people that have gone out and done mass shootings are seriously mentally ill people, a lot of them, who have slipped right through the system, who people have said, hey, there's something wrong here, or mommy and daddy says there's something wrong with Johnny, but we don't want, here comes the word again, the stigma of a mental health diagnosis on him. Okay? There's your problem. There's your problem in a nutshell. All right? It's not, everybody, well, you suffer from depression. You have anxiety problems. You take an antidepressant. You take an anti-anxiety drug. Okay? So we're afraid of you. We're going to stigmatize you into you're a potential homicidal maniac, or you're potentially going to kill yourself. You can't see the agenda behind that? And it's foolhardy. It's foolish. Okay? And the same people who are telling you not to stigmatize mentally ill people are stigmatizing mentally ill people. Okay? Mental illness is a broad definition. Very broad definition. If I say mentally ill, people are automatically thinking about the schizophrenic, the psychopath, okay, or the things like that. And when we say mental illness, we're talking about a lot of things. And if you would look at the DSM, you would find out that damn near every one of you could be found mentally ill in some way, by some theoretical quack, okay? Just because you don't agree with him or he doesn't agree with you, I mean, could I say a Christian is living in delusion? Anybody who has any religious beliefs is living in delusion because he believes in something that's not readily evident. He has what we call faith. Well, guess what? Yes, I could. I could make that argument. Okay? And there it is. Hey, you're a Christian? You believe in something you haven't seen? That's delusional. You're mentally ill. Okay? That's how far it can go. You remember what happened in Russia is when they had people who were too sensitive that they could really grab them and put them in a gulag. A lot of people they put in gulags because they were mentally ill. They grab them, get them off the streets, get them out of public eye by saying that they're mentally ill because they don't believe in the Communist Party or whatever. Okay, it puts a lot of power in a lot of hands that don't belong there. Okay. The fact of the matter is, somebody who is severely mentally ill, like the schizophrenic or something like that, well, they should be diagnosed. They should be adjudicated, okay? And once they're adjudicated, they don't have the right to own firearms anymore. But somebody who suffers from depression and anxiety, he's a completely rational thinking person, He's not going to go off half-cocked with some psychotic thing. And here's the thing. You're looking at the movies and you're listening to these professionals who to have a political gain in stigmatizing mental illness when they want to. You got to think about that, okay? And we turn around these red flag laws and you say, well, we're going to have a red flag law, okay? Well, you have an anxiety disorder, so we're going to red flag you and take your guns away. You don't understand the power in that? You don't understand the political motivation that can be behind that? Okay? All you have to do is have a judge that really doesn't like guns, and you ain't never going to get them back. They're going to be taken easily, and you ain't never going to get them back. Okay? And that's the way it is. All right? Start treating people who have serious mental illness. Stop stigmatizing people who suffer from anxiety and depression. Okay? Stop it. All right? And this political motivation, and the anti-firearms political motivation, pushes it farther. Let's scare the people. Okay? Let's scare them. Let's not show them true statistics. Let's just scare them. Let's take these little incidents, and they are incidents. They are isolated incidents. And let's brand everybody who has ever had any kind of mental health diagnosis, has ever received any kind of mental health treatment, okay, under that banner, okay, and let's take their guns. You won't reduce the suicide rate. That's the primary part of what the death by firearm. You won't reduce it. You just increase the rate by rope or poison. You tell them not only, oh, we're going to take your guns, but we're going to leave you with all these pills that we give you. Hey, take that whole bottle of Xanax, see what happens. You're dead. Okay? And there it is, I mean, this stigmatization they're using for political means, and they're being taught in the colleges that this is a viable, important thing because they're demonizing the firearms, demonizing people who own them. If you own a firearm, you must be crazy. Okay, you're paranoid. If you own a firearm for self-defense, you're paranoid. There's a diagnosis for you. You own a firearm for self-defense, it's proof that you're paranoid. Okay? Understand where that's at. All right, bye.